Are you putting yourself in a position to meet the Jeffs of the world? Now, do I have the finances or the intention to start riding business class every day now when I travel? I probably not. If it's just a short flight, maybe if I ever got to become a zillionaire, maybe I would start doing that. But it definitely convicted me that the Jeffs of the world are operating at a different level than me.
Welcome to the EQ Gangster Podcast, where you will learn practical tools to grow your mental and emotional health and intelligence to be the best version of yourself, both at work and at home. It is real, raw, and transformational. The journey of emotional growth isn't easy, but it's worth it. I believe in you. This episode is sponsored by Arrowhead Leadership Consulting. What are your organization's biggest pain points right now? Low EQ leaders, weak managers, toxic culture, high turnover, low engagement, leader development, lagging behind company growth, no company career path. Let us know if your organization needs leadership coaching, workshops, training, or keynotes. Visit arrowhead-leadership.com for more details. Arrowhead-leadership.com.
EQ Gangsters, what is up? All right, so this is going to be a little bit bumpy right now. For those of y'all that are on YouTube, you can see me bounce around, driving on the highway. So this episode is going to be about different opportunities at different levels. And are you prepared to take advantage of different opportunities at different levels? Are you putting yourself in the position to take advantage, to be in those different positions, to take advantage of the opportunities that may present themselves? I am thankful for grace and mercy and forgiveness and a million second chances and friends that are born for adversity. There's a verse in the Bible, I don't know where it's at, but it's something like a friend is there's a friend who's a brother born for adversity, or something like that. And I don't know that I've ever been a great friend for others that are going through adversity until having seen it modeled and to see what it looks like. And a huge shout out to a few guys that have just been game changer for me in some of the difficult seasons of my life. So just very, very thankful for a few, 3 or 4 really close guys that have just been there for me. They didn't run away, they didn't hide, they didn't ghost me. So anyways, I'm grateful, so grateful, forever grateful for those friends, not only for treating me that way, but also modeling to me what it looks like to actually help somebody going through a suck fest. All right, so that's what I'm thankful for. I recently went on a leadership sabbatical, meaning I had a 2 to 3 month opportunity to hone, develop my leadership skills in a VUCA environment, volatile, uncertain, complex, chaotic, and ambiguous, with some very high level people, and which that's a whole nother series of episodes that maybe I'll share what I can from that experience. Coming back from that experience, my leadership sabbatical, I rode business class, and I've never done business class before. literally in my life, I've never done business class before. This particular trip was very, very long. And so I thought, man, let's go ahead and you know, budget for it, spring for it. So I did. And so I'm in business class, so this long flight, sat next to a guy named Jeff. I won't mention his last name. 2 words, phenomenal guy. Phenomenal guy. 59 years old, big dude. And so I'm sitting in my high-speed business class seat, which again, I've never done before. It was amazing, by the way. It was amazing. And, you know, I'm not a small guy, so 6'1", 230. And I really, really was grateful, so grateful for that experience and to be able to stretch my legs out and stuff. It was such a blessing. The biggest blessing was sitting next to this guy named Jeff. So, again, Jeff's 59. Turns out he's a former NFL football player from back in the days. Played 5-10 years, offensive line, and now a very, very successful entrepreneur. Multi-millionaire, just crazy successful. Not just business, his marriage, his parenting. He's got a, you know, handful of kids, 4 or 5 kids, and was able to, you know, pick his brain for probably a good hour, if I had to guess, on his life experiences. And I thought, and this was part of our conversation, I'm like, man, and I told him, I said, Jeff, full transparency, I don't ever ride in business class. This is my first, you know, experience riding business class. It's actually my second, because I'm on my way to the leadership sabbatical. That was my first time, and this was my second time. I said, but I've never, aside from this experience, I've never done it before. And so now I didn't know this, but there's a first class and then a business class, and then where I normally sit, the back of the bus. He normally rides first class, which is a level above business class. And I thought business class was incredible. And so I said, man, I'm grateful. I told him, I said, man, I'm grateful. He wasn't supposed to be on this flight. He was supposed to be on a previous flight, but he wanted to extend it. Check this out. He wanted to extend it another day because he was going hunting with Winston Churchill's grandson. Who on earth does that? Who goes hunting with Winston Churchill's grandson? Evidently, Jeff does. And so I'm like, what in the world? Yeah, and then I, was having dinner last night with the Duke and Duchess of some place. We were in London. The layover was in London. And so I'm like, dude, Jeff, bro, that is amazing. I'm not even sure what to say. So, what an amazing experience, right? And so I told him, I said, man, Jeff, I'm like, I don't normally ride business class. Normally I ride in the back of the bus, and I'm grateful for this opportunity to ride business class because I got a chance to meet you. And dude, you're sharper than me. You're Proverbs 27:17 is iron sharpens iron. Big Jeff was sharper than me. And so in so many different ways, and his humility. He's the CEO of this big multi-million-dollar company, and here he is giving me skinny, really great skinny on life, on leadership, and a humble dude, just the greatest. Like, I didn't want to wear him out, so of course I stopped asking him questions at some point, but I'm like, man, Jeff, if there's any way you'd be open to continue dialoguing with me, doing virtual coffee or in-person coffee, or I'll take you out to lunch or dinner or whatever, like, I'm very grateful for you sharing your insights with me. And so it was just an amazing experience. So all that to say is this: are you putting yourself in a position to meet the Jeffs of the world? Now, do I have the finances or the intention to start riding business class every day now when I travel? I probably not. If it's just a short flight, I mean, maybe if I ever got to become a zillionaire, maybe I would start doing that. But it definitely convicted me that the Jeffs of the world are operating at a different level than me, and they're not, and maybe, I don't know, operating at a different level, maybe not way to say it, but it's like they're in different places than me. He does coffee. In fact, the other part of it was I was able to when I got to the airport, because you're supposed to get there early, right? So I got there really early, and I was able to go in the business lounge, which I've never done before. And so they have these high-speed business lounges at the airports that have showers in them and full breakfast buffets and stuff. I'm like, man, this is back to the bone, man. This is how the other half of the world lives. Well, I say other half. The other small percentage of the world lives. But again, everybody in there was a successful business person. Some are probably entrepreneurs, some executives, but they were all successful doing whatever they do. They were successful doing it. And I thought, man, again, not ever doing a business lounge before or a business class ticket before, it was just really convicting. Am I putting myself in a position to meet people that are in the NFL, so to speak? And I don't mean literally, even though Jeff was in the NFL, but like in life, because you never know. One conversation, and Jeff, after talking to him, he has some leadership challenges in his organization. I say leadership challenges. I don't know that it's leadership challenges. He has some leadership gaps, to use the words that he used. He said there's some leadership gaps based on some of the questions I was asking him. And so how can you, and again, do we all have the financial resources that Jeff does to consistently hang out with the Jeffs? Many of us don't. So what can we do in the interim to possibly put ourselves around a higher level of association and networking? How can we network at a higher level? Because Jeff thinks differently. He thinks different thoughts. He uses different words. As a very successful entrepreneur, he was using some business words, and I coach executives, right? I coach CEOs and C-suite executives, and he was, he was using words that, he's in an industry that I only have one other client in that industry. He was using words that I wasn't familiar with, and so, right, their language is different. And the other thing I told him, I said, what's cool about you, Jeff, is that you and I could both watch a football game, and I could say, oh man, look at I don't know all the teams, but look at the Packers versus the Steelers game. Man, that was a close game. Well, Jeff watches a football game, Packers versus Steelers, and he's seeing micro movements. He's saying, well, the offensive line, their timing was off, or he's a PhD in football. I don't have a PhD in football. Just like watching UFC, Jeff can watch UFC and I can watch UFC, and I'm gonna get something different because I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 8 years. And so and not that that means I know what I'm talking about, but I've got a little bit more experience than Jeff does in grappling. So that's all I mean. So how can I get around people that have achieved or attained a degree of mastery, and then how can I learn from them? So anyway, that's kind of this episode. And then, are you ready? This is another thing he said. He's like, man, Noble, he's like, talking about the AI and stuff, and how AI is taking over a bunch of stuff. He's like, it'll never replace this interaction right here. He's like, AI, I'll never want to do coffee with AI. But he's like, we've had a great conversation. I've really enjoyed it. And it takes EQ, because we were talking about EQ. It takes EQ to do that. You got to have people skills. You got to know, you got to have that situational awareness. You got to have self-awareness. You got to have social awareness, situational awareness. You got to be able to read the room. You got to be able to read your partner, the person you're talking to. In the room, you got to be able to read them. And I always want to end the conversation 5 minutes before they want me to end the conversation, because I don't ever want to wear people out, and I know I still do sometimes, which is part of my thing I'm working on, as a recovering people pleaser addict. And so with Jeff, I tried to shut it down early. I maybe didn't shut it down early enough, but anyway, just such a great experience. And again, he shared just some tremendous insights. And I'm super grateful that Jeff took some time out of his schedule, because he had another proposal to write for a big client that he's working with. And so I was grateful that he took some time with me. And then also, there's another one, throw around. Who are you bringing up and elevating? Jeff took some time out of his schedule to help elevate me. Who am I elevating? Who am I bringing up? Who am I sowing into with no expectations? It's not like Jeff's like, okay, now you can pay me $1,000 for this last hour for my time, right? Who am I sharing wisdom with without expectation? Who am I mentoring? Who am I trying to bring up with me? So anyway, some great lessons there, talking to Big Jeff. And I'm grateful that I've been working on myself. And I have a lot more room to grow, y'all. I'm grateful that I was physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially in a position to take advantage of sitting in business class and having a great conversation with Jeff, Big Jeff. And so much so that he also enjoyed the conversation. And a little side note, this was God winking at me, is my flight stewardess happened to be a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. So shout out to Michelle, my flight stewardess, who was a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. She was awesome. Yeah, super lady. That was, again, side note, side conversation, but yeah, super great lady. But I'm like, man, what are the chances meeting a blue belt in jiu-jitsu on this flight in business class? It was just a really cool, it was neat, just how it all worked out. So anyway, hope you guys got something out of that. Your emotional fitness is worth it. And emotionally healthy leaders create emotionally healthy cultures and organizations, which yield maximized results, outcome, performance, engagement, and impact.